John Mason wiped sweat from his brow as the Nevada sun beat down on the excavation site. For 3 weeks, his team had been digging in this remote section of the Mojave Desert, following strange energy readings that his instruments had detected. At 52, John had spent most of his life digging up the past, but never had he encountered readings like these. Anything new? Lisa Warrington approached, her government-issue uniform perfectly pressed despite the heat. As the official liaison between the Nevada Prehistoric Research Institute and the United Earth government, she rarely visited dig sites personally. Her presence here meant something important was happening. "We're close," John said, pointing to his tablet. "The energy signature is stronger today. Whatever's down there, it's big." Lisa nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon. Ever since Earth had joined the Galactic Assembly 50 years ago in 2045, the government had become very interested in any unusual findings. Humanity needed every advantage they could get. "How much longer?" she asked. "A day? Maybe 2. The ground beneath them suddenly trembled. Not enough to cause alarm, but enough to notice. John's equipment began beeping wildly. "Or maybe sooner," he said, rushing toward the center of the dig. The earth shook again, more strongly this time. Workers backed away as a section of ground began to sink, forming a perfect circle 30 feet across. Dust billowed upward as ancient mechanisms, hidden for thousands of years, finally activated. "Everyone back!" John shouted, though his own feet carried him forward, not away. Lisa stayed at his side, her hand resting on the weapon at her hip. When the dust settled, they found themselves staring at a metal hatch big enough to drive a truck through. The surface was smooth, unmarked by time, with strange symbols etched around its edge. "Is it alien?" someone whispered. John shook his head as he examined the symbols. "No. These are human-made. Very, very old human-made." Within hours, the site was swarming with government personnel. Large lights illuminated the area as the sun set, casting long shadows across the desert floor. Greg Daniels, the engineering specialist flown in from Washington, studied the hatch with growing excitement. "This metal alloy," Greg said, running, his hand over the surface. "I've never seen anything like it. It should have corroded thousands of years ago, but it's perfect." Lisa spoke quietly into her communication device, her eyes never leaving the hatch. "We need to open it tonight. The Zoraxian ambassador has requested another routine inspection tour for tomorrow." The Zoraxians, one of the oldest species in the Galactic Assembly, had appointed themselves as humanity's unofficial supervisors. They regularly checked Earth's technological development, always with polite smiles that never reached their eyes. "We can't rush this," John argued. "We need to document everything properly." "Document after we look inside," Lisa countered. "If there's anything valuable down there, we need to know before the Zoraxians start asking questions." It took 3 more hours to figure out the opening mechanism. When Greg finally activated it, the hatch slid open with surprising smoothness, revealing a dark passageway leading down. "I'll go first," Lisa said, switching on her flashlight. The passageway descended steeply, leading them down what seemed like hundreds of feet. The air grew cooler, and John noticed something strange. "It's being ventilated," he said. "After all this time, there's still air circulation." At the bottom, they reached another door, smaller than the first. This one opened at a simple touch, as if welcoming them home. What lay beyond left them speechless. They stood at the edge of an enormous underground hangar, so vast that their flashlights couldn't reach the far walls. The ceiling soared at least 100 feet above them, dotted with lights that slowly flickered to life, responding to their presence. But it was what occupied the hangar that made John's heart race. 5 massive ships, each different in design but clearly built by the same civilization, rested in perfect formation. They were sleek, beautiful, and utterly beyond anything humans could currently build. "This is impossible," Greg whispered. "These ships, the technology required." Lisa stepped forward, her professional composure cracking for the first time. "Are they alien vessels someone stored here?" John moved toward the nearest wall where hundreds of symbols were carved in neat rows. His fingers traced them gently. "No, he said, his voice filled with wonder. These are made by humans. The symbols are a very ancient form of proto-language, older than anything we've documented, but still recognizably human in origin. That's not possible, Greg said. These ships are too advanced. We couldn't build anything like this now, let alone thousands of years ago. John pointed to a section of text. According to this, these ships are over 35,000 years old. The claim was so outrageous that even Lisa laughed, a short, disbelieving sound. That predates all known human civilization by more than 20,000 years. I know, John continued reading. It says something about sealing away the stars and beginning again. I think an advanced human civilization chose to hide their technology and start over. For the next several hours, the three of them explored the hangar, documenting everything they found. The ships themselves were sealed, but panels near each one displayed information in the same ancient language. By morning, when Lisa reluctantly returned to the surface to delay the Juraxian visitors, John had reached a shocking conclusion. These weren't just advanced ships, he told Greg as they examined the smallest vessel. These were warships. Look at these sections here. Weapon systems, defensive capabilities far beyond anything in the Galactic Assembly now. Greg looked troubled. If ancient humans had this technology, what happened to them? Why would they hide it and choose to start over? John pointed to a large inscription near what appeared to be the command center. This might explain it. It mentions a great conflict, a victory that came at too high a cost. They chose to seal their technology away until humanity would need it again. Need it for what? Greg asked. The answer came from Lisa, who had returned unexpectedly quickly. Her face was grim. The Zoraxians are coming tomorrow with their full diplomatic team, she said. They're calling it a routine visit, but my sources say they're planning something big. Something about reclassifying Earth's status in the assembly. John looked up at the enormous ships towering above them. Then perhaps these were found just in time. We need to assemble a team, the best minds we have, and we need to do it quietly. Lisa nodded, already making calls. The ancient ships, humanity's forgotten legacy, waited silently, ready to rewrite the future. 2 months after the discovery, the underground hangar had transformed into a buzzing research center. Teams of scientists worked around the clock, sworn to secrecy, and hidden from the watchful eyes of Earth's Zoraxian observers. The area above ground remained a simple archaeological dig site as far as anyone from the Galactic Assembly knew. Samantha Wells stood before the largest ship, which the team had named Guardian, based on repeated references in the ancient texts. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she hadn't slept properly in days. As one of Earth's leading quantum physicists, she had been tasked with understanding the ship's propulsion systems. This makes no sense, she muttered, reviewing her latest readings. These engines aren't using any fuel source we understand. Paul Rivera looked up from his workstation nearby. The linguist had spent weeks deciphering the ancient language found throughout the ships and was making remarkable progress. The texts keep referring to something called the void between, Paul said. Could that be relevant? Samantha walked over to examine his translations. The void between what? Between dimensions, I think. Paul pointed to several symbols. They describe drawing power from spaces that aren't quite here or there, the gaps between realities. A chill ran down Samantha's spine. Her own research had theorized such energy sources, but she had never imagined humans had once mastered them. If that's true, she said slowly, then these ships could potentially harness unlimited power. Across the hangar, Lisa Warrington was speaking with Alan Blackwood, Earth's chief diplomat to the Galactic Assembly. His usual confident demeanor was absent today. The Zoraxians are pushing for a formal reassessment, Alan explained. They claim it's routine, but my sources say they've already drafted new classification documents. What would a reassessment mean? Lisa asked, though she already suspected the answer. Best case, they downgrade us from junior species to protected species. Alan's face darkened. We'd lose our voting rights in the assembly. Worst case, They decide we need guidance and establish permanent oversight bases here. Lisa glanced at the ancient ships. We need more time. We don't have it. The formal review begins in 3 weeks. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden commotion near the largest ship. Samantha was waving urgently, calling for everyone's attention. I think we've found something, she shouted. When Lisa and Alan arrived, Paul was pointing to a specific panel near what appeared to be the ship's entrance. These symbols, Paul explained, they're not just writing, they're instructions. I think I can activate the ship's systems. Greg, Daniel stepped forward cautiously. Are we sure that's safe? We don't know what might happen. We don't have much choice, Lisa said. 3 weeks until the Zoraxians arrive. We need answers now. Paul placed his hand on the panel as he had decoded, then pressed a sequence of symbols. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft hum filled the air, and lights flickered to life along the ship's hull. A voice spoke, startling everyone. It came from everywhere and nowhere, speaking perfect English despite its ancient origins. Initial systems online. Guardian awakened. Threat assessment requested. The scientists exchanged shocked glances. Paul recovered first. How are you speaking our language? He asked. Language analysis complete upon awakening, the voice replied. I am Guardian, primary artificial intelligence of the Forerunner fleet. Please specify current threat level to human civilization. Lisa stepped forward. We are facing potential subjugation by a species called the Zoraxians. They plan to downgrade our status in the galactic community. There was a pause, as if Guardian was processing this information. Zoraxian threat pattern. Recognized. Historical data available. Would you like me to display relevant conflict archives? Now it was the humans' turn to be stunned. Alan found his voice first. Are you saying ancient humans fought the Zoraxians before? Correct. The Zoraxian Empire was defeated by human forces in the last Great War, approximately 37,000 years ago, by your current calendar. A holographic display appeared before them, showing star maps and battle formations. Ships that looked like the ones in the hangar engaged with Zoraxian vessels across multiple star systems. This can't be right, Alan whispered. The Zoraxians claim they've been the dominant species for over 50,000 years. There's no record of them ever being defeated. History is written by those who remain in power, Guardian replied. After humans chose to seal away their technology and begin anew, the Zoraxians erased all records of their defeat and established themselves as the primary galactic civilization. Samantha studied the holographic displays with growing excitement. Guardian, can you explain how your propulsion systems work? Certainly. The ships utilize void energy, power drawn from the space between dimensions. This allows for near instantaneous travel between any 2 points in space. The AI continued explaining technologies that seemed like magic to the gathered scientists. Weapons that could disable entire fleets without destruction. Shields that could withstand the heart of a sun. Medical systems that could heal almost any injury or illness. As the day progressed, more revelations came. Guardian explained that humanity had once ruled much of the galaxy, not through conquest, but through exploration and alliance building. They had been respected, even revered. Then why give it all up? Lisa asked the question everyone was thinking. Guardian's voice seemed to soften. The decision was not made lightly. Humanity had grown too powerful, and some began to abuse that power. Rather than risk becoming tyrants, your ancestors chose to seal away their technology and begin again, hoping their descendants would rediscover it only when truly needed, and hopefully make wiser choices. That evening, Alan returned to his office, at Earth's diplomatic headquarters. A message waited for him. The Zoraxian delegation had moved up their visit. They would arrive in 1 week, not 3. Back at the hangar, Lisa assembled the core team. We're out of time, she explained. The Zoraxians will be here in 7 days. We're not ready, Greg protested. We've barely scratched the surface of understanding these ships. Guardian, Samantha addressed the AI. Could one of these ships be made operational within a week? The smallest vessel could be restored to basic functionality in that time frame, Guardian replied. However, it would require a compatible pilot. Compatible how? Lisa asked. The neural interface requires specific brain patterns. I can scan your population to identify potential matches. Paul, who had been quietly reading through more translations, looked up with concern. According to these texts, our ancestors had to make a choice, reveal their technology and risk warfare, or hide it and let the galaxy forget them. They chose peace at the cost of power. Lisa nodded solemnly. Now we have to make the same choice, but with much less time to decide. That night, as the scientists continued their work, Guardian ran scans throughout Earth's population, searching for humans whose minds could connect with the ancient technology, humans who might once again pilot the ships that had changed the course of galactic history. The next morning, President Kate Harrington arrived at the underground hangar. Her face showed the weight of leadership as she surveyed the ancient ships. Despite being in office for only 8 months, she had earned respect for her calm decision-making in difficult situations. This situation, however, was unlike anything any human leader had faced before. "Show me everything," she said simply. Lisa led the president through the facility, explaining their discoveries. When they reached the Guardian ship, the AI greeted them. "Welcome, President Harrington. It is an honor to meet Earth's current leader." Kate paused, still not entirely comfortable with the idea of speaking to a 35,000-year-old artificial intelligence. "Thank you, Guardian. I need to understand our options before the Zoraxians arrive." "Of course. Would you like to begin with their historical tactics or their current technological capabilities?" "Both," Kate replied. For the next hour, Guardian displayed holographic images showing Zoraxian ships, weapons, and battle strategies. The president listened carefully, occasionally asking questions. When Guardian finished, she turned to Admiral Victor Mendez, who had accompanied her. "How does our current defense fleet compare?" she asked. The admiral's expression was grim. "It doesn't. If the Zoraxians decided to attack, we wouldn't last a day." Olivia Clark, Earth's chief historian on galactic relationships, spoke up. "The Zoraxians haven't engaged in open warfare for over 3,000 years. They prefer political maneuvering to achieve their goals, which makes their sudden interest in reassessing our status even more concerning," Kate noted. "They must sense something has changed." Guardian's voice filled the room again. "The energy signatures from this facility, even with our shielding, may have been detected by their long-range scanners. The Zoraxians maintain surveillance on all worlds they consider potential threats." Kate walked slowly around the smallest ship, which the team had begun calling Remembrance. "What are our options?" she asked finally. Lisa stepped forward. "We see 3 possibilities, Madam President. First, we can hide these ships again and pretend we never found them. Second, we can continue studying them in secret while trying to delay the Zoraxians. Or third, we can show them what we found," Kate finished. "Yes, but Guardian's historical record suggests that revealing these ships could trigger one of 2 responses. The Zoraxians might immediately withdraw and treat us with new respect, or they might consider us a threat and take more aggressive action." The room fell silent as everyone considered the stakes. Not just their own lives, but potentially the future of humanity hung in the balance. "Guardian," Kate addressed the AI directly, "what would you advise?" "I cannot make this decision for you," Guardian replied. "My creators faced the same choice long ago, to maintain their power or to set it aside. They chose peace, believing humanity would rediscover this technology when it was truly needed." "And is it needed now?" Kate asked. "That is for you to determine." The president turned to her advisors. "I need your recommendations. All of you." For the next several hours, debate filled the hangar. Admiral Mendez advocated for immediately restoring all 5 ships to full combat readiness. Olivia warned about the potential diplomatic fallout. Samantha and Greg argued about whether they could even understand the technology enough to use it safely. As the day wore on, Guardian announced it had completed its scan of Earth's population. I have identified 23 individuals whose neural patterns are compatible with our ship interfaces. 3 are already present in this facility. All eyes turned to Paul, who looked stunned. Me? I'm compatible? Yes, as are Dr. Wells and Admiral Mendez. Samantha seemed equally surprised. What does that mean? It means you could potentially pilot these vessels, Guardian explained. The ships require a neural connection with their pilots. Not everyone's mind is structured in a way that allows this connection. Admiral Mendez stepped forward eagerly. How soon could we test this? The remembrance could be prepared for a neural interface test within 48 hours, Guardian replied. President Harrington raised her hand, silencing further discussion. Before we proceed with any testing, I need to make a decision about our approach to the Zoraxians. She walked to the center of the group, her expression resolute. History has presented us with a choice that our ancestors once faced. They chose to hide their power. We must decide if we follow their example or take a different path. The president looked at each person in turn. I believe our ancestors hid this technology because they feared what they might become with too much power, but they also preserved it for a time when we would need it again. The Zoraxians have manipulated the galaxy for thousands of years. They've erased our history and treated us as inferiors. If we do nothing, they will continue to control our destiny. Kate took a deep breath. We will restore one ship, the Remembrance, to demonstrate our technological heritage. The other 4 will remain our secret for now. We will not threaten or provoke the Zoraxians, but we will no longer accept their patronizing oversight. Admiral Mendez nodded with approval, while Olivia looked concerned. This carries great risk, Madam President, the historian warned. So does doing nothing, Kate replied. Lisa, how quickly can your team have the remembrance ready? Lisa glanced at Samantha and Greg. With Guardian's help, 5 days at minimum. The Zoraxians arrive in 6, Alan reminded them. It will be close. Then we have no time to waste, the president said. She turned to Guardian. Will you help us? That is why I was created, the AI responded. To serve humanity when the time came for you to reclaim your place among the stars. As the meeting ended, Kate pulled Lisa aside. We need security protocols. If the Zoraxians detect what we're doing before we're ready. I understand. I'll bring in Ben Foster to handle security. He's the best we have. Within hours, the hangar became even busier as new specialists arrived. Engineers worked on the Remembrance's systems while security teams established a perimeter above ground. Guardian provided guidance, but many systems had to be adapted to work with modern human technology. Paul spent hours each day studying the neural interface, preparing himself for the possibility that he might need to pilot the ship. Samantha focused on understanding the void energy propulsion system, working alongside Greg to ensure it would function safely. 5 days suddenly seemed like very little time to revive technology that had been dormant for 35,000 years. But, with the Zoraxian delegation approaching Earth, humanity had no choice but to try. Ben Foster moved through the desert night like a shadow. As head of security for the Ancient Ships Project, he took his job very seriously. He circled the perimeter of the dig site, checking each sensor placement. His team had created a bubble of protection around the site designed to hide their activities from Zoraxian technology. Anything unusual? He asked into his communicator. All clear so far, came the response from his second-in-command. But we detected a Zoraxian scout ship entering orbit an hour ago. It's unusual for them to arrive early. Ben frowned. The main delegation wasn't due for another day. Keep watching it. Let me know if it changes course. Below ground, the hangar buzzed with activity. Michelle Martinez directed a team of engineers as they worked on the final systems of the Remembrance. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she checked. Connection points between ancient technology and modern interfaces. Power flow is stable, she called out. Let's test the navigation system next. Nearby, Eric Donovan sat in a specially designed chair, his eyes closed in concentration. Among the 23 humans identified as compatible with the ship's neural interfaces, Eric had shown the strongest connection. a former test pilot with an unusual brain structure. He had taken to the neural training with surprising ease. "I can feel the ship," he said quietly to Samantha, who monitored his neural patterns. "It's like it's alive, waiting." Samantha studied the readings with fascination. "Your brain activity matches the ship's interface patterns almost perfectly. Guardian says that's rare, even among compatible pilots. How much longer before we can try a real test?" Eric asked. "Michelle says the propulsion systems will be ready in a few hours. If all goes well, we might attempt a short flight tonight." Above them, the smallest of the 5 ships gleamed under the lights. The Remembrance was sleek and beautiful, nothing like the bulky vessels humans currently used for space travel. At 200 feet long, it was the smallest of the ancient fleet, but Guardian had confirmed it was still more powerful than any ship in the current galactic assembly. President Harrington had returned to Washington, but maintained hourly updates. Lisa now served as her direct representative, coordinating between the scientific team and the government. "We've got movement," Ben's voice came through the communications system. "The Zoraxian scout ship has changed course. It's heading toward our location." Lisa's expression tightened. "Time estimate? 3 hours? Maybe 4. "That's not possible," Alan said, checking his diplomatic schedule. "The formal delegation isn't due until tomorrow evening." Lisa turned to Michelle. "How close are we?" "We need 6 more hours minimum to finish the systems checks," the engineer replied. "You have 3, Lisa said grimly. "Guardian, can the Remembrance function with partial systems?" "Basic flight and defensive capabilities could be operational within 3 hours," the AI confirmed, "but weapon systems and dimensional jump drives would remain offline." "Focus on getting it flight ready," Lisa ordered. "We may need to demonstrate sooner than planned." As the team rushed to prepare the ship, Paul continued working with Guardian, extracting as much historical information as possible. The AI shared records of ancient human-Zoraxian relations, revealing patterns that matched current Zoraxian behavior. "They always test boundaries first," Paul explained to Lisa. "This early arrival is typical of their historical tactics. They're trying to catch us unprepared." In the ship's cockpit, Eric worked with Michelle to establish the neural connection. He sat in the pilot's chair, which had been modified to interface with his nervous system. "Ready?" Michelle asked, her finger hovering over the activation switch. Eric nodded, closing his eyes. "Ready." When Michelle activated the system, Eric gasped. His mind flooded with information as the ship's consciousness merged partially with his own. He could feel every part of the vessel as if it were an extension of his body. "It's incredible," he whispered. "I can see everything. The ship's history, its capabilities. Can you control it?" Michelle asked anxiously. Eric focused his thoughts, and the ship's engines hummed to life. Lights flickered along the hull, and the gentle vibration of power flowed through the vessel. "Yes," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "It responds to my thoughts." Up on the surface, Ben's team tracked the approaching Zoraxian ship. It had entered the atmosphere and was now flying a search pattern, coming closer with each pass. "They're scanning the area," Ben reported. "Our countermeasures are holding for now, but their technology is good. They'll find something eventually." Lisa made a quick decision. "We need to move the Remembrance away from the other ships. If they discover us, we'll show them 1 vessel, not 5. The massive hangar doors, hidden beneath the desert sand, had remained sealed for thousands of years. Guardian activated ancient mechanisms, and for the first time in millennia, the doors began to part, revealing a sliver of night sky above. "This will definitely attract their attention," Ben warned. "That's the point," Lisa replied. "Eric, can you fly the ship out once the doors are fully open?" "I think so," he answered through the communication system. "The neural link is strong." Diana. Lopez, a veteran military commander who had arrived the previous day, stepped forward. "I should be on board as mission commander. Eric can pilot, but we need military presence if we're facing Zoraxians." Lisa nodded her approval. "Take a small team. Be ready for anything." As Diana selected her crew, Michelle completed the final checks on the Remembrance's systems. Life support is stable, defensive shields at 80%. We're as ready as we'll ever be. The hangar doors completed their slow opening, revealing the star-filled desert night. Sand cascaded down as the ancient doors pushed aside the earth that had hidden them for so long. The sudden energy spike from the door mechanisms lit up every sensor on the Xeraxian scout ship. "They've changed course," Ben reported. "Coming directly for us, fast." Inside the Remembrance, Eric settled deeper into the neural connection as Diana and her team of 4 took their positions. The ship hummed with energy, ready to fly after 35,000 years of waiting. "Remember," Lisa cautioned over the comm, "this is a demonstration, not a provocation. Show them what we found, but take no aggressive action unless absolutely necessary." "Understood," Diana acknowledged. "We're ready." With a thought from Eric, the Remembrance lifted gently from its berth. The ancient engines barely made a sound as the ship rose through the open doors and into the night sky. As it emerged from the earth, the sleek vessel caught the moonlight, its hull gleaming with a silvery blue light. On any other night, it would have been a beautiful sight. Tonight, it was a message to the approaching Xeraxians. Humanity had reclaimed its heritage. The Xeraxian scout ship changed course immediately, accelerating toward the unexpected vessel that had appeared from the desert floor. Whatever they had expected to find on their early inspection of Earth, it certainly wasn't this. The Remembrance hovered 5,000 feet above the desert floor, its ancient hull gleaming under the stars. Inside, Eric felt the ship responding to his thoughts, each system coming alive through the neural connection. Diana stood behind him, watching the approaching Xeraxian scout ship on the display screen. "They're hailing us," one of her team members announced. Diana nodded. "Open the channel." A Xeraxian face appeared on the screen. Their species resembled tall, slender humans, but with bluish skin and large compound eyes that shifted colors with their emotions. This one's eyes pulsed with angry red patterns. "Unidentified vessel, you are in violation of Galactic Assembly technology protocols," the Xeraxian said. "Identify yourself immediately." Diana stepped forward. "This is Commander Diana Lopez of Earth. We are conducting a test flight of a recently recovered vessel." The Xeraxian's eyes shifted to a mixture of yellow and orange, surprise and suspicion. "That vessel does not match any known human design specifications. Prepare to be boarded for inspection." "I'm afraid that won't be possible," Diana replied, calmly. "This is a sovereign Earth vessel. If you have concerns, you can raise them through proper diplomatic channels when your delegation arrives tomorrow." The Xeraxian ended the transmission without response. Moments later, their ship accelerated toward the Remembrance. "They're scanning us," Eric reported, feeling the probing energy through his connection with the ship. "And powering weapons, systems." Diana's expression hardened. "Defensive shields only. We're not here to start a fight." Eric focused his thoughts, and the ancient shields hummed to life around the ship. When the Xeraxian vessel fired a warning shot, the energy dispersed harmlessly across the shield. "They're calling for backup," Diana's communications officer reported. 3 more Xeraxian ships have changed course toward Earth. Estimated arrival 6 hours. Diana opened a channel to the underground hangar. "Lisa, the situation is escalating. The scout ship tried to fire on us, and they're calling for reinforcements." In the hangar below, Lisa conferred quickly with Alan and Guardian. "Return to base. We need to contact President Harrington immediately." Within minutes, the Remembrance had returned to the hangar, and an emergency meeting was underway. The president joined via secure video link. "The Xeraxians have already filed a formal complaint with the Galactic Assembly," Alan reported. "They're claiming we've violated technology sharing protocols." President Harrington's voice was steady. "What are our options?" Guardian spoke. "Based on historical patterns, the Xeraxians will use this incident to justify immediate oversight of Earth. Their reinforcements will likely include a diplomatic vessel carrying their High Ambassador." "Cazell," Alan nodded. "He's been pushing for Earth's reclassification for years." Then we'll meet him directly, the president decided. Prepare the remembrance for a formal demonstration tomorrow. I'm flying in tonight to handle this personally. Lisa looked concerned. Madam President, the ship isn't fully tested. We can't guarantee. We're out of time for testing, Kate replied firmly. Guardian, what are the chances the Xeraxians will recognize this ship for what it truly is? Very high, the AI answered. The design elements are distinctive. If any of their historians are present, they will understand the implications. The president ended the call, promising to arrive within hours. The team worked through the night, making final adjustments to the remembrance. Eric practiced with the neural interface until he could control every function with practiced ease. Michelle reinforced critical systems, while Diana prepared her team for any possible scenario. By morning, 4 Xeraxian ships orbited Earth. The largest descended toward the Nevada desert, landing 2 miles from the hangar site. As predicted, High Ambassador Xel had arrived personally to handle the situation. President Harrington stood at the edge of the open hangar doors, watching as a procession of Xeraxian officials approached across the desert. She wore formal diplomatic attire, her posture confident despite the tension of the moment. Are we ready? She asked Lisa quietly. As ready as we'll ever be, Lisa replied. When the Xeraxians arrived, Xel stepped forward. He was taller than the others, his skin a deeper blue, with eyes that shifted between confident green and dominant purple. President Harrington, he greeted with practiced politeness that didn't reach his eyes. This is an unexpected situation. Ambassador Xel, Kate nodded. Welcome to Earth. I understand you've arrived early for our scheduled meeting. Circumstances required adjustment, Xel replied smoothly. We detected unusual energy signatures from this region, signatures that should not be possible given Earth's developmental stage. Kate smiled. Yes, we've made an interesting discovery. I was planning to share it during your formal visit, but since you're here now, she gestured toward the open hangar doors. Would you care to see it firsthand? Xel's eyes flickered with uncertainty, but he nodded. The Xeraxian delegation followed President Harrington into the massive underground structure. When they saw the remembrance floating in its berth, several Xeraxians gasped. Xel himself froze, his eyes cycling rapidly through colors. This is impossible, he whispered, all diplomatic pretense forgotten. These ships were destroyed. All records were expunged. Not all of them, apparently, Kate replied. Our archaeologists discovered this hangar 2 months ago. We've been studying it since then. Xel turned to his delegation, speaking rapidly, in their language. One elderly Xeraxian stepped forward, examining the ship with wide, fearful eyes. It is authentic, the elder confirmed. A Forerunner vessel. There is no mistaking the design. Forerunner? Kate asked innocently. Xel composed himself with visible effort. A myth. Nothing more. This must be a replica of some kind. At that moment, Guardian's voice filled the hangar. I am no myth, Ambassador Xel, nor is humanity's place in galactic history. The Xeraxians recoiled as if struck. Xel's eyes blazed angry red. An AI? You activated a Forerunner AI? My designation is Guardian, the AI continued, and I retain complete historical records of the last Great War, including the Xeraxian surrender at Proxima Centauri. Xel turned to President Harrington, his composure cracking. This changes nothing. Earth remains a junior species in the assembly. Actually, Ryan Thompson stepped forward, Earth's chief negotiator who had been quietly observing. It changes everything. Article 17 of the Assembly Charter clearly states that any species demonstrating heritage technology that predates current assembly formation must be reclassified accordingly. This is one ship, Xel argued, desperation creeping into his voice. A relic. Nothing more. In response, Kate nodded to Eric, who sat in the pilot's chair. The neural link activated, and the remembrance rose gracefully from its berth. Its hull began to glow with soft blue light as ancient systems fully awakened. Would you like a demonstration of its capabilities? The president asked. The elder Xeraxian placed a restraining hand on Xel's arm. They conferred quietly before Xel turned back to the humans. That will not be necessary, he said stiffly. The Assembly will need to reconsider Earth's classification in light of this discovery. Diana, standing beside the president, recognized the look in the Xeraxian's eyes. It was the same expression humans had worn for decades when dealing with supposedly superior species. Reluctant respect mixed with fear. By evening, the Xeraxian ships had departed Earth orbit with unusual haste. Their formal complaint was withdrawn, replaced with a request for renewed diplomatic discussions regarding Earth's status in the Galactic Assembly. In the hangar, the team gathered around Guardian's holographic display, which showed the locations of other hidden human outposts scattered throughout the galaxy. There are more sites like this? Lisa asked in wonder. 17 major installations, Guardian confirmed, each containing different aspects of your ancestors' knowledge and technology. President Harrington surveyed the ancient ships with thoughtful eyes. Our ancestors faced this moment once before. They chose to hide their power, fearing what they might become. And now we've reclaimed it, Diana said. Not just reclaimed it, the president corrected her. We've been given a second chance to use it wisely. She turned to Guardian. Will you help us find that balance? That is why I was preserved, the AI replied. Not just to remember the past, but to help humanity build a better future. As stars appeared above the open hangar doors, the remembrance settled back into its berth, its mission complete. Humanity had unveiled their ancient ships, and, in doing so, had redefined power across the galaxy forever.